Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Los Angeles. Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas. And Luis, we got a pretty spicy one here from Namsun Wook. He's got Villainous Wealth ×3 in the main deck.
Yeah, it's powered by Nykthos, Shrine of Nyx, and it looks like he basically built a Green Devotion shell, but his end game is to use Villainous Wealth to just go deep.
Now, Villainous Wealth is a three different colored card. So, like, how easy is it to just jam that into a devotion deck?
Very easy.
For you?
No. Basically, what Namsun Wook gives up is he has to play Opulent Palace instead of a temple, perhaps, that you normally like Temple of Malady, for example. And he plays cards like Rattleclaw Mystic that, maybe don't make the cut in a normal Green Devotion deck, but do in his deck because it adds both blue and green. He also has a Voyaging Satyr, which is nice with Opulent Palace. That by itself can cast, basically cast Villainous Wealth.
Get the other two colors. I like it.
And it looks like he's playing against Sultai Control, which is a pretty interesting deck too. We tested this one and I really wanted it to be good because we played, back then it was called Bug Control at Pro Tour Journey to Nyx. Josh had our late made top 4, and basically you get to play Courser, Caryatid, good blue cards, good black cards. And it's kind of funny because the green is just there for Courser and Caryatid essentially, but you end up with getting a lot of value out of just the blue and black removal and card draw cards.
We spelled Sultai wrong. But we'll get it fixed.
Sylvan Caryatid is, its place is taken by Voyaging Satyr here, but still, Voyaging Satyr into Courser, into Elvish Mystic is not a bad start. We could see a Villainous Wealth earlier than normal.
Yeah, now he's already got Nykthos down, right? So, like, how much mana can he make right now? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pips already. So he's getting there.
And so far, not a lot has gone on. I mean, Michael Nguyen has just cast a Thoughtseize and presumably is going to do a little bit more now. He's got Sultai Charm ready to go. He's casting another Thoughtseize. It looks like an enforced pick of Genesis Hydra here.
Yes.
The least powerful of the X spells in Nem's deck.
But Michael Nguyen, he's on, it's listed as Sultai Control, but he's certainly let a lot of these creatures survive here.
Yeah, he doesn't have much of a sweeper except he's playing 2 copies of Aether Spouts.
Ah.
Not that they're incredibly effective against, Elvish Mystic and Voyaging Satyr, but those cards aren't killing him either. And he's got Sultai Charm. He could have actually killed the Corsair already, but he saw that Arbor Colossus there and maybe is thinking about killing that, except it looks like Nem is just not going to play, any cards this turn. He's just going to play his Opulent Palace or his Wooded Foothills and just attack and not expose Arbor Colossus to removal.
Interesting.
I think Michael Nguyen's going to have to cast Sultai Charm here. It just costs too much mana to not do something. In which case, depending on his hand, I mean, killing the Courser is obviously a fine option.
Sure.
He could just draw 2 and discard 1 if he didn't care about Courser.
Now, is the Voyaging Satyr an issue given the fact that Namsun Wook could find a Nyx?
Well, if you kill a Courser, I mean, Nam still has a lot of mana here, but he's not at a point where he can't really do anything too amazing, and whether or not you kill the Voyaging Satyr, it's only 1 mana here.
Sure. All right, Courser down.
That 1-foil swamp blazing like a beacon there.
Yes, it is. Jeez. Scry off a Temple of Malady.
Yeah, Dig Through Time is also good in this deck. I mean, it's good in basically any deck that can cast it, and given that you have a lot of cards like Sultai Charm, Polluted Delta, Thoughtseize, like you fill up your graveyard pretty quickly.
What are the finishers for Michael Nguyen's deck?
He's got 3 Prognostic Sphinx,
Okay.
and then 3 Ashioks, plus 1 Garruk, Apex Predator.
Oh, wow.
And I suppose Kiro actually, she ultimates fairly easily.
Yes, she does. So it's a heavy Planeswalker build then.
Yeah, which actually makes Villainous Wealth decent. There's actually more targets to hit than against, say, Blue-Black Control, where you basically don't hit anything. You hit a grip of Counterspells and Hero's Downfall, which not all that effective, but hitting a Kira and an Ashiok could be pretty good.
That's sweet. We'll see if Namsun Wook can find it. His name's also three words. If you can have him correct it.
Michael Wynn's got an Ashiok to play here, but unless he's backing it up with removals, like, Murderous Cut would be good, except he looks like he's elected to play only Dig Through Time as his delve spell of choice. But Ashiok plus cheap removal would be pretty good, because I guess it technically actually doesn't die here. I mean, it get attacked for 4. We see a Villainous Wealth waiting on the top of Nam's deck, but it looks like it's going to get milled away.
Oh, sad. We were so close. It wouldn't have been a huge Villainous Wealth, though, right?
It could have been for up to 5. I think at 5 you cast
big enough.
it.
Yeah, for sure.
Eidolon of Blossoms.
Another Opulent Palace, but he's going to get to play this one.
And Eidolon of Blossoms is one of the cards Nam has experience with. He played it in his Pro Tour deck.
Indeed.
And it looks like he's about to draw the first one into the second one. Whether it survives long enough is yet to be seen. Though it's possible he just plays Arbor Colossus here. I actually kind of like that more, because then next turn you can try to play both Eidolons in the same turn and draw 2 cards off the second one.
Looks like he's debating which one of those plays he wants to make right now. He's going to go for the Eidolon here. So a little bit inefficient. Ooh.
Nykthos next turn
Nykthos.
could be a thing, though. He needs a Villainous Wealth pretty badly. Not something I thought I'd say this weekend.
Wow, this is actually pretty insane.
Ashiok's going to get attacked down to 1, unless... Actually, Michael
Ooh.
Wynn's at 9. Maybe he just gets it. Yeah, it looks like he's just getting bashed.
domed him. Yep. Yeah, that drops Michael Wynn down to 5 and leaves Namsun Wook with lethal.
Yeah, once your opponent's life total is the same as their Planeswalker loyalty, you should probably attack your opponent. That's one way to get rid of the Planeswalker.
I like that shortcut.
The only thing I don't like about this is it doesn't look like we're necessarily going to see Villainous Wealth make an appearance this game, because Nam might win the game without it. Though, Sultai Charm can get cast this turn. I'm surprised Caryatid did not come out to block. Ashiok could have summoned a Caryatid to defend Michael instead of, getting plus.
I expected that to happen, but it didn't.
It could be that he's worried about the Nykthos, but of course, another Nykthos is still on top.
Yes, it is. But Michael knows the cards in Namsun Wook's hand, right? Like, he thought he used them earlier, and he's had a Courser up for most of the game. He should know what he's got.
Nam's not even interested in Nykthos with good reason. He doesn't have anything to really sink the mana into.
Right, it's a pretty dead draw.
Shuffle it away with Wooded Foothills there.
And he finds another land anyway. Less exciting one.
Yeah, Yavimaya not as great. But Nam's still going to get to draw 2 cards off Eidolon here if the first Eidolon doesn't get killed. Attacking first could make sense unless you're worried about something, although Aether Spouts isn't even castable here. Not that Nam would play around Aether Spouts in the dark, but it is worth noting that his opponent does have them. There's 2 Eidolon of Blossoms in play, so they both trigger.
He's getting a lot of value.
Yeah, and it looks like an attack for 7 here, or 6 here, unless something happens, which is technically lethal, though I would expect Michael Wynn to, cast that Sultai Charm to kill one of the 2 power creatures.
All right, all of it at you. Michael has tools so that he doesn't die this turn. The question is, how does he want to approach it? Sultai Charm. Going to take down the Courser? No, the Eidolon.
If he's going to end up killing the Eidolon, you think he would have wanted to do it before the second one came into play.
Right.
He just gave Nam an extra card, which I'm not sure will actually end up mattering. There's millions of creatures in play. But, yeah, a card is a card. Michael Wynn looking for an Aether Spouts or perhaps a second blue to cast Aether Spouts pretty badly. It looks like he's got the Aether Spouts, actually, but doesn't actually have the second blue. I think throwing Carriage into play might have done the trick a turn earlier, but he was afraid of the Nykthos.
Right. All right, let's take a live look in at our secondary tape. All right, Chris Fennell versus Noah Walters, and I have a feeling I might know who's ahead here.
Yeah,
it's just a quick permanent count.
It looks like
reveals
Chris Fennell's playing on a different build of Jeskai Ascendancy than the one we featured earlier.
Okay.
Because he's got Meletis Astronomer and then a bunch of auras.
Oh.
Like Karamitra's Favor, and actually in Dragon Mantle, so and Hammerhand as well. So this is a slightly different build. It still goes off with the Retraction Helix and Briber's Purse, but it has less of those, and it has more creatures, more auras. And it looks like Fennel is winning this turn. With 2 Jeskai Ascendancies out, he can continually bounce Karamitra's Favor here, which essentially costs 0. Basically just draw his whole deck, and eventually win the game by just attacking with the creatures he has in play. He's also got Hammerhand, so he could play new creatures, Hammerhand them, and attack with those creatures. So looks like he's doing all right.
Yeah, he's doing fine.
And No Walter is playing, looks like a Jeskai deck, and he just didn't draw any red mana this game, which also explains why he's done nothing but discard Dig Through Time.
So the dice right there representing mana for Chris. He's tracking how much floating mana he has. This is an interesting thing you'll see occasionally against combo decks. Is some people make you go off, and some people just scoop up their cards and move on to the next game. It looks like Noah wants to see how the deck works, or maybe get a few more cards revealed.
Actually, at the Pro Tour, so I beat my opponent game 1 with the combo. Going off, then playing Altar, and then milling my opponent to death. And then in game 2, I milled my Altar early. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I have to win the hard way. And we explained that in that deck tech video in the masterclass. And I'm like, all set up to bounce Retraction Helix, go off, Treasure Cruise, play all my creatures. And he just scooped as soon as I cast the Retraction Helix. And I'm
really?
Like, yeah, I'm like, man, I kind of was looking forward to, doing all this. Like, this is what I practiced for. But instead, my opponent's like, I've had enough.
That's funny.
And this game, it does appear to be over, since Chris can basically demonstrate a loop at this point. It's a little harder than online to do that, but I played decks like Melirapod where you still have to go through the loop to gain life, and it actually works out fine.
It's fine.
So maybe we want to head back to the original match here, since it looks like this one is drawing to a conclusion.
Yeah, they're still shuffling over there anyway, so might as well look at pretty pictures, I guess.
Yeah, might as well look at Chris Fennel explaining to his opponent why he's getting attacked for 20 million.
Yes. Wonder if he picked a number. You're supposed to pick a number, right? Like technically?
Technically you are, because you can't, there's no such thing as infinite magic. You can pick an arbitrarily large number. You can say 100 million or whatever.
Right. But then if they can gain, air quotes, infinite life, they can say 100 million.
I remember a story of, there's the Cleric deck that used to gain infinite life back a long time ago, during when Onslaught Goblins was a deck. It would make one of its clerics, infinite toughness, sacrifice to gain that much life, and the judge's like, hey, you can't choose infinite. So the guy's like, whatever, I gain like 1,000 life. And then his Goblin opponent got 4 pile drivers out and attacked him for 1,000 over the course of like 7 turns. He started attacking for like 120 a turn, so it took like 10 turns.
That is unbelievable.
But because he was told he couldn't get infinite, he chose not a very imaginative number.
Did not go big enough. Oh, that's too good. All right, back in our main feature match. Michael Nguyen sitting on 4-2 against Namsung Wook. Nam's also a Grand Prix champion. He won GP Melbourne.
Yeah, and he actually top-8 2 Grand Prix in a row in that stretch, with a very similar mono black devotion list.
Yeah,
the one in Melbourne had Notion Thieves in the sideboard.
Yes.
And Temples of Deceit. I remember that deck.
I do too. I was covering that actually. I was all the way down in Australia for that.
They flew you to Australia to cover a Grand Prix?
With Rashad.
Well, Rashad doesn't surprise me. Ooh, we could be seeing the feared turn 2 Corsair. This is one of the better openings in Standard, and it doesn't happen very often because of so many come to play tap lands.
No, it's a morph. What is Nam playing here? What morph is he on? Is it a Rattleclaw Mystic?
I would assume so. There does not look like he has any other morphs at his disposal.
All right, there's an Urborg, so Namsung Wook off of his forest Elvish Mystic's like, well, we got one of the colors taken care of. All right.
And for those viewers who have just joined us, we're working on our Urborg checkmark mocks, so people can know when a fetch land gets tapped for mana that there is an Urborg in play.
Right. Or maybe when a forest gets tapped for black mana or something. All right, so a wildly productive turn here for Michael Nguyen. He kicks things off with Drown in Sorrow, which has Namsung Wook doing just that. And he even gets to Thoughtseize in this turn to clean up any other mess. Now, how does his hand look from here, Luis? He's got Voyaging Satyr, Nykthos, and an Eidolon.
It's decent. I mean, he still gets to cast Voyaging Satyr, then cast Eidolon. I bet Namsung Wook wishes he had cast a turn 2 Courser instead of a Rattleclaw Mystic, but he was ready to go big.
Yeah.
He wanted a lot of mana.
He draws a land for the turn. All right. So back in business, let's see what Michael Wynn has to follow up. Voyaging Satyr sitting there. He did play the Nykthos as well, so he's ready to roll.
See, that Polluted Delta can tap for black mana because there's an Urborg in play.
Understood.
I don't know if it's one of the little tricks of the trade there. So I would expect an Eidolon of Blossoms to come out. Here, actually, Namsung Wook, I think, wanted to elect to take advantage of the Urborg and just tap the Wooded Foothills for mana. In decks with Courser of Kruphix, I really don't like sacrificing fetch lands unless you have to. It's just, every now and then it's just going to draw you an extra card. The deck thinning, I think, is less of an impact than getting to skip the drawing of a bad card when you have a Courser in play.
All right, so Eidolon comes down, draws Nam a card, and Michael Wynn then, right on cue, cracks his fetch land as well. Needs more blue.
Yeah, I mean, his deck doesn't really function without double blue. We saw that last game. He had Aether Spouts in his hand the whole game.
Right.
Potentially Dig Through Time. And now that he's got, actually, the Temple of Mystery, the promo version of Temple of Mystery, which I did not recognize at first. So he's got access to blue, green, green plus Caryatid plus Urborg, making it all black. So I think he's set on actual mana symbols. Whether he's got the cards he needs is yet to be determined. But it looks like an end of turn Dig Through Time.
Oh, all right. All right, so Michael's going to take a look at
Probably just 7 cards.
full grip. Yeah, 7 cards here and see what he can peel.
Well, I see another Dig Through Time, so you want that one. And if there's another Dig Through Time, you want that one too. And then after that, we're good. Looks like he's running with Prognostic Sphinx there to play next turn, as well as, of course, the Dig Through Time.
All on end step too.
Yeah. When on your end step, your opponent starts removing cards from their graveyard, is not a good feeling.
It's not good.
On Magic Online, you see that happening before the spell comes out, and you're like,
they
oh,
turn
man.
red.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
the whole graveyard turns red. You're
I
just like,
know.
come on.
Yeah. What is that?
That looks like a Prognostic Sphinx, but a promo version of some kind. It looks
Yeah,
like Michael Wynn's got, some fancy cards
He's
here.
got the juice, yeah.
I like it.
So that was not the one he got though.
No, he got a different one, but of course his opponent didn't see that. We saw it, so there's no harm. Whereas if your opponent thought seizes you and sees a particular version of a card, you should play that card before playing another version. Another reason it's good to play all the cards of the same version.
All right, so Genesis Hydra for 5, was it? 3?
It looks like 4.
4, okay.
Or no, actually it looks like, you're right, it's 3. I guess the last land came into play tapped.
Sad. Although he did hit. Can't complain there.
Oh, you can always complain. Trust me.
Nam won't complain.
So it hit another Voyaging Satyr, no Pelucranos. And now those Nykthos taps for a lot of mana and with 2 Voyaging Satyrs in play. This would be a perfect time for some Villainous Wealth. Looks like Prognostic Sphinx coming in, giving Michael Wynn his pick of Sultai Charms, which he's going to leave both on top.
Okay. Randy, what's going on in the feature match area?
I've been watching Brian Kibler, and the Savage Knuckleblade beats keep coming.
Oh, yeah?
Kibler won his match already, 2-0,
Wow.
defeating Obzon midrange. So we watched him beat Jeskai, now we see him beat Obzon midrange. He may have stitched together a version of that deck that's real.
It is getting closer to reality, Randy. We're almost there, buddy. Thank you. All right, Nam, come on, buddy. Villainous Wealth off the top next turn. Let's do this.
And Villainous Wealth would now be for, I would say, about $1 million. Let's see, Nykthos taps
You're
for...
estimating $1 million?
Nykthos taps for 6, So that's 6, 10, 14. So it looks like a Villainous Wealth for 15.
That is approximately $1 million.
It's enough to get some pretty good value.
All right, there's 2
But-
lands and a Sultai Charm. Sultai Charm stays on top.
And it looks like Michael's content just to sit on these Sultai Charms and dig through time and Hero's Downfall and not actually kill anything. Even though he's just not afraid of that Nykthos. He's actually got no answer to Villainous Wealth in his hand if one were to be cast for a lot.
God, that's all I want right now.
I think you're the only one. Or every single person
Or
watching.
everybody else, yeah.
Unless some of Michael Wynn's friends are watching, in which case they're happy with
Yeah,
the way things are
that's
going.
the thing. I don't have anything against Michael Wynn, but and I want him to do well in life. But this Villainous Wealth means a lot to me right now, and I want to see it go.
Namsung Wook pointing out that he tapped his Delta.
For
I
the-
guess he
for
needs
the
the reward
viewers?
checkbox
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Oh. So we need a Tarmogoyf counter at all times and an Urborg checkbox. That's our wish list right now. How about a Pithy Needle? What is
Name.
it naming? Yeah.
And Michael Wynn does not actually have a ton of counter spells. Looking at his main deck, he's got none. He's just got all Thought Seizes. And his sideboard has 2 Dissolves, which this is a reasonable matchup to bring in Dissolve for, but this is not a control deck like in the style of Blue-Black that has all counter spells. Instead, it just has removal spells and Planeswalkers, which is still control-ish, but it's slightly more mid-range. As one Prognostic Sphinx slowly makes its way through.
Looks like he's going to keep Aether Spouts on top.
And he has one in his hand already from the dig. He's well protected. And as far as we know, Nam does not know that Aether Spout's in his opponent's deck.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The first Aether Spouts is so brutal.
It's so nasty. Almost just want to run one so that you can get them once and then never have to cast it again, but they always respect it.
Yeah, at Grand Prix Portland, I told my opponent I had Aether Spouts, and he didn't believe me and he attacked and I had Aether Spouts. It was pretty satisfying, actually.
That was at the Team Limited GP?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I like how you had to say actually on it. It was pretty satisfying. That sounds wildly satisfying.
Yeah. Opulent Palace, not the Sultai card we're looking for. We're looking for, of course, Villainous Wealth here. But it looks like Nam's going to have a little bit of time. He's actually dead next turn, so
Very little bit of time.
he's had a couple draw steps and they have not yielded fruit yet. But we'll see if he gets rich next turn.
Hornet Queen, is that a thing here?
It is. There's 3 Hornet Queens sitting
Okay.
in Nam's deck, and he might just rather draw one of those. But I think everyone would rather he draw Villainous Wealth.
I know what team I'm on here, but he looked at it
And he scooped him up.
and he scooped him up. Randy, what's going on the side tables?
I was watching a match between Brad Nelson and Sam Pardee. They got paired at 6-0-6-0, and Brad just
The pink hat?
the pink hat was facing down the Rabble Master. Brad played a Rabble Master and just had a removal spell for every creature that Sam tried to put in front of it. So Rabble Master went all the way, was in game 3. So Brad goes to 7-0. Sam and the pink hat do pick up a loss, but still in pretty good shape on 6-1.
Okay,
Funny
thank
thing
you.
also, I'm talking to Brad after the match, like that's 7-0, right? You guys were undefeated. It's like, yeah, but I still have no idea if this deck's any good or not.
I mean, he's only played 4 matches, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's hard to tell from 4, 8, or even 12 matches exactly how good a deck is. I mean, any deck can draw reasonably well and look awesome. So it's going to take a little bit more than that, but I mean, it's certainly not a bad thing.
Sure.
Starting 7-0 is more evidence in one way than the other.
Sure. All right, let's take a live look in over at our secondary match. Chris Fennell was, in fact, able to somehow close out that first game. And how's he looking in the second game, Luis?
He's looking very good. He's not really getting pressured. He's got an ascendancy and double carried it out, so he's actually in pretty good shape. And it looks like he's currently fighting over the ascendancy here. It looks like Noah negated it and Fennell Swan Song the negate, and he actually just might go off right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
So he needs 1 retraction helix here?
Right now, just 1 retraction helix is good enough.
Okay.
Because he's got Dragon Mantle, which costs 1 mana, but if you've got a 1 mana
the
spell
2
works if you have 2 Caryatids.
Yeah. He draws a Rattleclaw Mystic. I don't see the helix in his hand.
And he might not actually have many more spells, in which case he might have to ship the turn. But even if he ships the turn, it's not like he's going to die this turn.
No.
Though his opponent does have a Glare of Heresy in hand, which is, if he ships the turn, will get to eat the Jeskai Ascendancy.
Okay. What is the token there?
It's a Swansong token.
The Swansong token.
Swansong has a disadvantage. It's still a great card, and actually, Fennell's under more of a clock maybe than he realizes, because Glare eats the Jeskai Ascendancy if Fennell doesn't have a counterspell, and then next turn, End Hostilities can actually kill both Caryatids.
Yeah. He also gets a trigger on
On Seeker there.
Seeker, yeah, so that's going to battle. All right, what shenanigans are we up to
Fennell is just trading, because he's using Dragon Mantle to pump the Caryatid 3 times, make it a 3/2, and just trade for the Seeker to take less damage.
here? Okay.
He's got enough mana creatures that makes sense.
Yeah, he has a Radiclaw Mystic in his hand as well. All right, so now what's the plan for Fennell here? Find another Ascendancy?
Yeah, he's got to find an Ascendancy and then continue to go off. Looks like he's got a Rattleclaw Mystic instead.
Yeah.
Let's see, he has Sagu Maulers in his sideboard, which
Is
he
this
does not.
bird going to go the distance?
It might be joined by a Mantis, but it actually, End Hostilities, I think, is a better play here. I would like to just hit for 2 and End Hostilities, force Fennell to have another mana creature here, as well as you're still going to hit for 2, and the next turn you can go Mana Strider Stoke. So
Yeah.
in 2 Caryatids down, that Stoke might be able to kill whatever mana creature Fennell plays next, and Fennell does not have a lot of resources. And it looks like Noah is going to go with the End Hostilities. I like this line of play.
And he ends hostilities. We'll have to keep an eye on this one. We're going to jump back over to our main match, which is underway in the 3rd game.
And it looks like a turn 2 Courser was in fact present here, which after seeing Drown in Sorrow, it definitely is what Nem is going to prefer to do. Last game we saw him play Rattleclaw Mystic morphed instead of a Courser and immediately get his 2 cards drowned.
Yes.
So I don't think he wants to that to happen again.
He may have learned his lesson there. Polukranos lurking on top of the library there for Namsun Rook, who's got Negate in hand.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he doesn't have a 3rd land, but between Elvish Mystic and Llanowar Waste can activate Nykthos, at which point he gets 5 mana. He can still cast Polukranos, and against the Sultai deck, there's not a huge reason to not just play out all your creatures. You're not really walking into any sort of mass removal.
When cracks a polluted delta, he's got something lined up for here. What is this going to be? Ashiok, maybe? Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. What does he have?
Could just be a straight up removal spell.
So do you take out the elf here, and if that's the case, or do you have to start mowing down the coursers?
Depends on your hand. If you have multiple removal spells, you can try to start work on the coursers, but you risk, Nam getting to play. Well, if you kill a courser, he only has 3 mana because it makes the Nykthos weaker. So if you want to get greedy, you can just kill the elf and hope he never draws another land, in which case he's stuck on just 2 coursers. But he gets to see an extra card deep, so that seems potentially risky.
Instead, he can just have a courser fight, which Namsun Rook has to be pretty happy that was the result there. Thoughtseize now on top of his library, but unfortunately still not a 3rd land for Nam.
Yeah, but he's
But
doing
he can
all right.
make a
As
ton
long
of
as his
mana
creatures
here.
don't die, he gets to cast.
Whoa, don't do that.
Yeah, you don't want to cast 2 Polukroses. Luckily, he couldn't even do that if he wanted to.
Yeah. And he even gets a beat in for 2 points of damage.
Michael Wynn's going to want a way to kill. Maybe a Bile Blight would be awesome here. Just kill both Elvish Mystics. So it looks like Michael's also potentially stuck on lands here. Ashiok can't quite get defended by Courser, but he might play it anyway if he's got nothing else to play. So I think we're going to see Nam potentially win this game without the help of Villainous Wealth, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, it just gives us more opportunities to see him cast Villainous Wealth later.
True. Yeah, another Elvish Mystic sitting on
So
top of the
Ashiok
library.
does basically just buy Michael Wynn a bunch of life, because now if Nam wants to kill it, he has to attack it with Well, he could just attack it just with Pelucranos and then send the 2 coursers at Michael, and I doubt Michael's going to want to save his Ashiok all that much. It doesn't really do a whole lot here. Ashiok is an awesome card, but it really needs you to have a clear board.
Yeah.
And I think that's a weakness that a lot of Planeswalkers, tend not to suffer from that end up seeing a lot of play.
Right.
You have cards like Elspeth or
Ooh.
Chandra.
Can he cast that yet?
Oh yeah, he can cast Hornet Queen. Right now his
Super
Nykthos
easy, right?
taps for
2, 4,
8 mana?
6, 7, 8, yeah.
So he has 9 mana at his disposal off 2 lands, which is
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Can he make blue mana currently though? No, right? So that negate in his hand is just going to have to sit there if Michael
Yeah.
finds something sweet.
He would like to have negate up because one of the few things he can lose to is some sort of powerful spell that impacts the board. But with a negate, that's going to be a little less likely. He's also looking at potentially, I guess if he has 9 mana, he can just Pelucranos down the Courser. Wow, he can attack for 13 damage this turn.
Wow, put Michael Wynn on 3 and force him to find an answer almost immediately.
Or just kill the Ashiok and hit for 4, but I don't know if that's even better. Ashiok soaks up 9 damage there.
Yeah. Ashiok can minus next turn to make Voyaging Satyr for Michael Wynn, but that would just be a chump blocker. Nom's doing the math, but he shakes his head a little. Oh, he's drawn another negate as well.
He's shaking his head at how much he's winning by.
So
Elvish
this
Mystic.
is a free Elvish Mystic?
Yeah, essentially free because it just adds to Nykthos. He's just to worry if he's going to run into Drown in Sorrow or something along those lines, but I think he's okay if that happens. I think you just, attack Michael directly here. Feels like that does a decent amount here.
He is going to go ahead and take out Ashiok here.
I guess
He's issuing 9 damage for it.
Ashiok does block the Pelucranos next turn.
Yes.
My concern with attacking directly is that if you attack Ashiok, then Pelucranos gets killed. You're a lot less close to killing Michael here. Whereas if you attack directly, yes, he puts a 1/2 into play, but if he kills your Pelucranos, then he's still at a very low life total.
Yeah, another option he had was to hit Michael for 9 and attack Ashiok with the 2/4s, and that way the best he can do is plus Ashiok next turn, which doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, that actually
Unless
might be the best
really
of all.
wanted the Hornet Queen, I don't know.
I don't think the Hornet Queen is incredibly useful here.
No,
So.
he's plenty ahead as it sits.
Also, it doesn't really change which cards he loses to by all that much. Though, if Nam hits a blue land, he just can't lose. Because then,
Right.
at that point, he's got negate up, and that's, cuts off all of Michael's outs. And Michael, in fact, does have Hero's Downfall for that Pelucranos. It'll be interesting to see if he runs into getting negated here. Sultai Charm also does the trick, so... But even if Pelucranos dies, Nam can attack for 7 with all his elves and coursers.
Yeah.
Put Michael Wynn down to 5, and at a point where he needs to play multiple spells to not die.
Which, interestingly, that would have actually been lethal.
It would have. Even through potentially Voyaging Satyr, or if he attacked with
Yeah.
the Ashiok deck for 4.
Right, so we know what's in his hand. Michael knows what's in his hand.
It's going to be hard to get away from attacking with just about everything, though you still kind of want to play Hornet Queen here.
And it looks like Michael's kind of stuck just playing one spell a turn here. It's
Though-
gonna be too far behind.
If he... Aether Spouts is one of the few cards in the format that actually
Yes.
gets him back into this
Yes,
game.
it absolutely does.
If he takes 6, you're going to 6, untaps, passes with 5 mana available, potentially has a devastating Aether Spouts.
Yeah, the problem here is that Nam has Thoughtseize and the mana to cast it, so he can just pre-combat kind of peel that away from him.
Yeah, I imagine he will do that.
Yeah,
But
it is not guaranteed, Luis. I agree.
and Michael's best hope is for that to happen.
So Nam decided to play a second Pelucranos here.
Drown in Sorrow a little too late.
Yeah. And he doesn't have enough mana to drown and play Sultai Charm here, right?
No, if he could drown
He's
and
not
then
hitting
kill the
his land drop?
Pelucranos, he could not die this turn.
Yeah, he'd be at 2.
And Nam's going to win this game on 2 lands.
Yeah.
Unless he passes without Thought Seizing. If he just attacks with everything. That would be pretty insane, but it could happen, technically. Yeah.
Nope. He's snapping that one off, and there's Thoughtseize, and Michael just has to be so bummed that it turned out like this. He knew it was going to
Yeah,
happen, but
I mean,
he's got to be
wasn't a
sad about
surprise.
it. No.
Thinking about casting Sultai Charm, draw 2, discard 1. I'm not sure what cards in the format even could save you
I
at that
don't know
point.
if there is one, yeah.
Manamorphose into Terminus. I guess that
I
doesn't
think you
even
might
work.
have crossed the format barrier there.
Well, no, you draw Terminus as your first card, so the Miracle Trigger goes in the stack, and Manamorphose is your second, then you cast Manamorphose in response to the Miracle Trigger to get white mana.
I see the play.
I think we solved it.
I thought we were restricting ourselves to standard here.
Both those cards were legal in standard at one point.
So he's going to Sultai Charm Pelucranos, but I mean,
He's still getting attacked deck with by the
right,
Coursers.
and Nom's going to have perfect knowledge as well because of this Thoughtseize. So it's like probably scoop a clock here for Michael Wynn, unless he's got something I can't see in there that matters.
No, Nom's going to try to make sure that he's not running into anything, and then he's just going to attack.
Yeah. And in they go. Michael Wynn has to concede there, and Nam Sung-wook, even though we never got to see the huge villainous wealth, he was able to win through sort of more standardized Nykthos shenanigans.
Well, he's got Villainous Wealth in his deck, which is sweet, but it doesn't change the makeup of his deck all that much. It just means that his mana base is a little different, and he's got Villainous Wealth in his deck.
He just has the huge blowout potential.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
Yeah, it looks like Noah Walters was able to win that game after casting End Hostilities
Yeah.
and presumably pressuring Chris with Mantis Rider.
Yeah, I like that play by Noah. You just set this combo deck down to 0 pieces, and they are just in a world of hurt. Plus, there's so few cards that actually hit Sylvan Caryatid. It's like you got to do it when you got it. What is that on the? What is that?
That's
I see the
Anthausa,
characters, but-
Setessan
oh, it's
Hero.
Anthausa. He just turned those into creatures. They're tutus.
Yeah, I don't know how good
What
that
is
is,
happening
but
right now?
It's a thing.
Is this part of the combo that I've never seen?
Not really, no. I think
It's value in Thausa?
I think it's just a sideboard plan so you can attack your opponent. Though, if Noah has a spell to make Seeker a 3/3, attacking with those lands doesn't accomplish a ton.
No, you're going to get one hit with Magma Jet and then you get the other one eaten. All right, in they go. No. One of them's going to hang back, it looks like. No, maybe it is going to get in there. Chris kind of looking at both scenarios, trying to decide what this looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, when you're just something like this, you just have to assume what's the worst case. Am I okay with that? I guess he's okay with that, though this actually doesn't look great for Chris.
And Thausa is going to get put back on top of the library with Jeskai Charm, and then one of his lands is going to get eaten? No, that's not going to happen at all.
Backbreaking Swan Song.
Wow.
Though Noah still gets to block one of the lands.
True. He can actually block 2 lands if he wants.
Oh yeah, because he has a Swan token now.
Yeah,
That's
would
even
you
better.
sway the token for a land? Probably, right?
I would assume that's fine. But it also depends on life totals, because even though Chris is attacking for essentially 5 after the 3 life gained by Seeker, Noah's still the slightly more aggressive deck, or actually much more aggressive deck. So
Right.
he actually still could be in okay shape, and it looks like Noah actually has a decent sideboard for this match. I mean, Negate, and then End Hostilities, Glare, Banishing Light. It's not like any of these cards are A+ except Negate, but there's still a reasonable assortment of cards. That's part of the reason you don't like playing against Jeskai with the Ascendancy deck, is that they incidentally get to have a lot of cards that are good against you.
Right. Both of these players are sitting on 6-0, playing the Jeskai colors, though two very, very different takes on what the best configuration is here. Is one of them's a combo deck, the other one's a tempo burn.
Your contention is that the deck that has 4 green mana symbols on its permanence right now is a Jeskai deck?
Why did I say that? Oh, because it's Jeskai combo.
It is a Jeskai combo.
Yeah, but it's really blue-green with,
Yeah.
with Jeskai, yeah.
It is funny that if you just say Jeskai, people assume the deck on the left, but you say Jeskai Ascendancy, they immediately default to that deck.
Yeah. There's a chance I didn't completely think out that sentence before saying it.
Well, I mean, that hasn't stopped you before, so it's no reason to start now.
Onward into battle, my friends.
And if Chris had a Jeskai Ascendancy and it resolved here, I think he would be pretty well on his way to winning the game.
I have no idea. Why is Anthausa on the battlefield? This is just throwing me off. I'm used to seeing that in Limited.
It's not a card I had tested for the matchup, so I can't necessarily explain it either. I guess I like the fact that since Chris's deck has a ton of ways to target it,
Yeah.
it's a one-card way to kill them with damage, because it attacks for
Yes.
essentially 10 a turn.
Okay.
That is
Ooh.
not completely unreasonable here.
Here's a Retraction Helix. No Ascendancy out though.
So it's not clear what Retraction Helix is targeting right
It
now.
was the Caryatid.
Okay, so yeah, that. So Noah has to decide whether he wants to counter that. He's not really sure what Chris is up to. I have to imagine.
Yeah. What is Chris up to?
I also am not sure what Chris is up to. It looks like maybe bouncing Karamitra's favor to try to go off. I think he's just going to bounce the Seeker and try to get aggro. With Noah at 19, that's not a plan that's going to work insanely well.
I think he's also got a Dragon Mantle here,
he's
so
gonna-
he can get in for 10 or whatever.
That's going to go perfectly into Noah's plan of casting End Hostilities. Though Noah also sided in Deflecting Palm, which could get an unwary Chris if he attacks with like a infinite creature.
Oh, wow.
There's some pretty funny stuff going.
That's insane. There's Dragon Mantle on Unthausa. The problem is, it doesn't untap the lands. He just gets to make 3 of them into creatures. So only 2 of them right now can even attack at all, and he finds Twin Flame.
He could Twin Flame the 1,000 attack. I guess that doesn't actually change how much you attack for, because instead of attacking with 2 lands, you're attacking with an extra 1,000.
Right, because you have to tap the land. You could tap the Unthausa to do the Twin Flame. Are you in?
Yeah, there we go. That,
Combo up.
go off.
Yeah.
This again is a very, very strange round. We've seen Villainous Wealth and Anthausa kind of in play here.
This
I
is
guess Villainous
crazy.
Wealth got Ashioked, but it was close.
Yeah.
So it looks like Anthausa and a Battlefield Forge are entering the red zone.
Hey, if you're going to pick one to attack with, Battlefield Forge seems like the one.
It is true. As Chris bounced Noah's only creature right before Noah casts a Wrath.
His only real creature. You could have bounced the Swan as well and had that just gone forever.
Oh, as the chat aptly points out, Anthausa's even legendary, so you can't even Twin Flame her.
Right.
You can Deflecting Palm her, though, which is what Noah is doing right now.
So Noah's going to try to get some value out of Deflecting Palm before he wipes the board.
He's actually not that far away from killing Chris. Chris takes 4, going to 7, then it's tacked down to 5 with the Swan.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, I still think that Noah's going to cast End Hostilities here, but, even if Chris had another Swan Song, it's not clear that he wouldn't just die to the Swans.
Yeah.
Because he's not that close to actually killing Noah with damage, given that only the Battlefield Forge did damage, not Anthausa, because of the Palm.
So Chris Fennell drops down to 7.
And then Noah presumably drops down to 17.
17. He did take 2 still.
But then gets to attack for 2 with the Swan token.
Finds a Lightning Strike.
He's close-ish
He's really close, yeah.
to winning on damage here.
He's going to have him to 2 virtually here.
He
so.
could also very easily just cast Banishing Light, exile Anthausa, and then keep Negate up for any sort of shenanigans. Then next turn attack and cast
Yeah.
Lightning Strike. That actually sounds
That
better
sounds
to me.
really good, yeah.
I mean, End Hostility sounds pretty good too, but I think Noah's in pretty good shape almost no matter what he does here.
Now, Chris Fennell doesn't have any way to go off, right? That's not something that Noah has to worry about for next turn.
Well,
In a real world, in reality.
right, given that we know Chris's hand.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But
Especially
Noah
with
has to have
Negate
an
up.
idea, right?
Well-
Like with what Chris did last turn, he's like, oh,
Yeah. I
Dragon
think
Mantle
Noah-
my Anthausa.
Noah has been keeping Negate mana up, so he could suspect Chris has an Ascendancy and maybe is waiting to draw a second Swan Song.
Ah, okay.
But, I mean, one of the advantages of combo decks is your opponents always play like you have the whole combo in your hand, or at least
Yes.
often they do, because
Yes.
they're like, well, I don't want to die out of nowhere.
Right.
The disadvantage is sometimes you don't have it. And Noah's going to play like Chris has it, Chris isn't going to have it, Noah's going to win.
Right. So, good spot for Noah. Fires off Banishing Light on Anthausa. It's going to knock those enchantments off and get Anthausa out of here. Interesting stuff from Fennell.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on here. But in this particular match, it does not look like it's going to get there. And see here, you see Noah not playing Seeker, even though Chris is nowhere near comboing, because you have to make sure. Though, if Chris drew Ascendancy and then played Twin Flame, you could just go off from there. It is, definitely a possibility. So Chris is going to get to do a bunch of stuff this turn, but he's not, without an Ascendancy in play, he's losing mana every time. So he's
Right.
not going to generate enough mana. He is, I think, going to die to Swan Song plus Lightning Strike, or Swan Song token plus Lightning Strike, unless he draws very well off his next couple spells. Meletus Astronomer, another hit.
Yes, this is going off here. And he gets to target it with Karametra's Favor, so let's see what he finds.
He finds nothing from the Heroic Trigger, but then he gets to draw a card off the Karametra's Favor itself. I bet Noah's still nervous that Chris could somehow go off here.
You're always nervous like
Yeah.
that, even if it's not realistic. And end step Lightning Strike you,
And that ought to do it. Chris now knows that he doesn't have anything.
especially with the
I think technically
Negate.
Noah should have waited so he could Lightning Strike with Negate backup in case of a Swan Song. But actually, no, never mind, because if Chris taps Mana Confluence to Swan Song, he just gets attacked for 4 in the air.
yeah. Then he's
so
just
either
dead.
way.
Yeah, he had him either way. So Noah Walters is going to win 2-1 over Chris Fennell. Doesn't look too happy about it. Can't blame him.
Chris Fennell is generally not very happy when he loses, which puts him in with basically every other match.
Yeah.